Hey everybody! Don't be alarmed, I am wearing a bright white t-shirt, but I wanted to wear something that fits the theme of the vlog today, which is Resident Evil video game series. And I wanted to do a nice big table setup and display like I did with the Silent Hill game series, but I just own too much stuff for Resident Evil, and I don't want to spend the 30-40 minutes cleaning up afterwards. So I'm going to do a little bit of a more lazy version and just kind of pinpoint and pick up stuff as we go along. To clear things up in case somebody does not know that's watching, they're Resident Evil, if you've only seen the movies, there's a video game series obviously that was loosely based off of the storyline and characters and stuff. Mostly do not go with each other. Alice, the main character from the movies, is not in any of the video games. And there's only a few characters and a few things that really match up between the two. But for the most part, if you've watched the movies and you've heard about the video game series, or you kind of are interested in it, give it a shot for sure, because the stories are more horror related and much darker than they are in the movies, and I just think they could have done a better job of translating the horror aspect of it. But either way, the Resident Evil video game series came out in, the first game, Resident Evil, was in late 90s on the PlayStation 1, and it was sort of the first game to coin the genre survival horror. And the idea was you have limited ammo, limited health, and you have to make your way through just unending masses of creatures, being zombies and other animals like zombie dogs and crows and mutant creatures and stuff. And it wasn't the first horror game, but it was the first one that really, I guess, kind of reached more of a mass audience, and they just did a really great job of capturing a sense of terror on a video game, and that was definitely the first time that I think people experienced that. Resident Evil 2 also was on the PlayStation 1, and Resident Evil 3, and both the series just kept growing and growing and got pretty damn huge. I don't own the PlayStation versions anymore. I actually own them all on GameCube. They did a remake of the first Resident Evil, which is right here. Updated the graphics, made everything look a lot better, added whole new extra areas. One of my favorite remakes of a game of all time. They just did such a good job of making it even scarier than the original was on the PlayStation 1. And then Resident Evil 2, and they put out Resident Evil 3 on the GameCube. All these games came out multiple times on multiple different systems. The only reason why I really owned the GameCube ones is they were the last releases for the most part. And they were the kind of had the most polish on the graphics, and I figured, why not own, the most pristine versions of the game. But the second and third games, the second game takes place in the city. The first game takes place in a mansion. Second game takes place in a city right outside Raccoon City, right outside where the mansion was. All the stories in all the Resident Evil games are connected in some way for the most part, either by location or by character being related to another character. So the series is incredibly long and detailed now, and it can get a little confusing, but the main games, all the numbered games in the series, for the most part, are all straight through. Like, you should be able to follow along if you start at the beginning and continue on. They put out Resident Evil Code Veronica on also multiple systems, the PS2, the GameCube, the Dreamcast, and it was the first one in the series that kind of took on a 3D environment, in the sense that you could, all the previous games, all the backgrounds and stuff were uninteractive. With the Code Veronica, you could actually move around objects more. The camera would sort of pan different directions, and you could actually get a sense of depth in a lot of areas. The biggest game in the series for Resident Evil is sort of hard to determine, because after Resident Evil Code Veronica. Oh, let me point out one more one that came out only on GameCube was Resident Evil 0, and it was a prequel to the entire series. And that's the only system that came out on was GameCube. But, sorry, back to Resident Evil 4, which I own on the Wii. It came out on GameCube, PlayStation 2, and the Wii. And it was the first game of the series that went for a different action perspective. All the other games in the series have all been they're called tank controls, where you move the character kind of forward, and then you turn the character and kind of move it left, and then you turn it. It's very rigid controls, and it makes for a little bit more intense and hectic action during attacks by zombies and stuff, because you really have to get a good feel of the controls, and the cameras are a little funky, and some people hate it, other people dig it because it adds to just the suspense and being attacked. But Resident Evil 4 kind of changed all that and made it more of a over-the-shoulder third-person shooter game that brought in, on the Wii, you could use the motion or the Wii remote and actually fire the gun with a little red rectile on the screen. But some people really do not like Resident Evil 4, and it's the second game. The game came out after that, Resident Evil 5, that had the same type of control scheme, because they feel that the survival horror is out of those games and it's more action-based. I dig all of them. I dig the newer ones because they're intense in a different way. They're intense because the zombie plague from the Resident Evil series has grown on to different things, and other companies have tried to change it and make it even stronger, and it just makes sense for the series. I mean, you're not going to have slow-moving zombies throughout years and years and years as biological weapons, because they would pretty much be failures. So I dig what they did with the series. I like how they made them more intense and more aggressive, but to each their own. They're trying to, there's some games coming out in the Resident Evil series that they're kind of towing the line between even pushing this farther. Let me grab Resident Evil 5 while I'm finishing up talking about it. They're going to kind of continue with the more action-oriented with Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City coming out, and then they're going to have more on horror-based ones on the DS, like Resident Evil Revelations. But that's Resident Evil 5. It was like the gold edition that came out on the PS3. Had extra content, but anyway, sort of a short video, but just want to kind of give an idea of the Resident Evil series as a whole, compared to if you've only seen the movies and stuff, and maybe someone would take this and kind of use it as a way to check out, the video games now. So if you have an option to do that, they're on pretty much every system ever, so give them a try, and peace out, guys. Talk to you later.